Everybody, about 23 minutes late this week, but it's Friday, so sorry, not sorry type of situation. But nice to see everybody. Since I'm late, I'm going to give everybody a few minutes to jump in here before I start answering questions, because there's no questions answered. Hey, Jen, say Harold. Let me start closing down some windows here. Would make sense. I decided to go old school today. So I'm on this, sitting at my desk. You can see the green screen behind me where I usually sit. But I didn't want to take the time to set up since we were already late. So old school. Looks all right, though. Got to at least have a light in front of me where usually I didn't before. Hey, Money, how are you? So yeah, let the questions roll in. It's been an eventful week like most weeks here at CoinMetro. Lots happening all over the place as per usual. I think we finally got a date on the first television campaign we've been talking about. That's on the 30th of this month. Won't tell you where it is, what it is, but start watching lots of TV around the 30th if you live in Europe. Just change through every channel. And then, eventually, hopefully you'll find it. I'm sure somebody's going to spot it. But we did get a date on that. What events? Well, I say eventful, I guess should mean full of events. Not necessarily events, though, like a concert or a monster truck rally. Is that an event anymore? I remember seeing those when I was a kid. I don't know if anybody goes to monster truck. They definitely don't do that in Estonia. That's a U.S. thing, I think. You just watch big trucks drive over small trucks. I don't know. Probably American, to be honest. What I mean is, though, is that eventful as in there's just been lots of things going on. There always is in every department, here, there, and everywhere. Finally got connected to a new liquidity provider feed. We won't really see all the liquidity pouring until probably next week or the week after, but the feed is connected, which is great, which means that we can start to diversify a bit and have a bit more liquidity on some pairs, which is a good thing. Just give me a second, guys. It's on my actual work desktop here. I'm getting alerts. Okay, close those out. All right, let's see. Pedro, is that the cold wallet password on the sticky note behind you? I have a sticky note behind me? What is that, this thing? No. No. It has nothing to do with. This is just confirmation numbers for moving. Actually, well, it is move. I was moving, as we move assets out of the cold wallet into the hot wallet. I make these. Those are transaction numbers for our internal system. So yeah, no. I don't write down. Cold wallet hashes or whatever private keys on sticky notes. I do it in a notebook like a normal person. No, I'm just messing with you. Nice studio. Where are you at? I missed a few minutes. That's usually where I film these little AMAs. I was a bit late today, so rather than set up again, which it looks like it's halfway set up anyway, I just decided to go old school. So I'm just sitting at my desk, but I have a new light that sits in front of me. Normally, I'll show you what this normally would look like. Ready? By the way, new merch. This is what this would normally look like. You see, which maybe I actually look better. I don't know, because you can't see all the ridiculous reality. But normally when you do video, you want some decent light. So I actually have a decent light that I use for calls. So I decided I just do it here today. Who needs a green screen when you got all this Freddy Krueger meets YouTube behind you? Any news from the UAE? So I was going to go speak at a conference on the 20th, but I decided not to. Simply because the topic it's an IT conference, and it's mainly about cybersecurity, and I was the only guy there potentially going to talk about security of blockchain protocols, which I can talk about. I could probably do 2 hours on that if I had to, but I don't really see why I would be there. I mean, yeah, I guess I would provide some info for the conference and maybe get some people to watch me talk, but I don't really think it would lead to anything that would be beneficial to the business. And that's why I decided not to go. But I probably will be there mid-November now. And at that point, I'm going to look to set up meetings with a few different government organizations that I've already been in touch with. So we'll probably have news towards mid-November. There was a news that Estonian regulator plans to axe all crypto licenses. Are you going to return the client money if that happens? No, we're going to run off into the sunset and buy a Caribbean island. Wouldn't that be ridiculous if the regulator came in and canceled all licenses and all that did was cause everyone to steal everybody's money? That would be a pretty bad move in terms of in terms of the regulator. That guy'd probably be fired. So let me break this story down because, you know, yellow news meaning things that, like, you know, people dead in the street, carnage in the markets always get more hits and more views than actual news. You know, no one's going to report that your next door neighbor got a discount on their canned tomatoes at the local supermarket on the news, because, you know, who cares? But if she dies on the way there by getting hit by a Mack truck and then gets her skull eaten by a bunch of squirrels, that's definitely going to be in the news because more people are going to click on that. Why? Well, I don't know. Human psychology, I guess. So what happened is this: we have the head of who used to be the head of AML or anti-money laundering inside the FSA, has now been moved over to be to have basically the same position in the FIU, which is kind of like the police of the regulator. So they're the financial information unit. These are the guys that investigate most of the AML act, most of the acts that would touch the AML law. Now, he's young. He's 33. He doesn't have a ton of experience, and he had this great idea to do a bunch of PR to say that his predecessors did a very bad job, and that he was going to come in like Superman with his cape and make everything right. Why did he do that? Well, the FATF, that's the Financial Action Task Force, the US basically, is going to roll into Estonia at the beginning of next year to do an audit. And based on that audit, they're going to decide whether Estonia stays on the white list or moves to the gray list. And they're looking for a scapegoat. So who better to use as a scapegoat than the crypto industry? You know, why not? They've done that before. And I'm talking about Estonia. I'm just talking about regulators at large. There's a systemic issue. There definitely was a systemic issue in Estonian banking. We had the Danske scandal, which is the biggest money laundering scandal in the history of mankind, happened here. Now, did it happen in Estonia? Well, yes, technically, but it's not an Estonian bank. We can go on for days about why that happened, but there was a massive money laundering scandal that bled into many other banks that are situated in Estonia, and that includes some Estonian banks. So the FATF is following up to see, what changes have been made to these issues that were around for years and allowed Russian oligarchs to launder a bunch of dirty money through banks based in Estonia. Now, about 2 or 3 years ago, there was we did a little soiree inside the office here on the 5th floor, where we told regulators that the current licensing guideline, the licensing requirements were nonsense, and they needed to make them more stringent. And we proposed a bunch of different things they could do to do that. They adopted some of them into the new licensing requirements that came out roughly a year ago, and now they're adopting a few more. Everything they want to adopt, we meet already, and those that we don't meet, we can meet. We just haven't because, well, there's been no regulatory requirement to do so, like minimum capital requirements, for example. They're currently 12,000 euro. They'll go to 350,000. No problem for us. It will be a problem for the vast majority of crypto licensed entities that are not yet operational, are operational but don't really have a business, or those that have no physical presence in Estonia. So many of those licenses will be revoked. There is in no way, shape, or form do I see the regulator trying to come in and revoking all licenses. Let me tell you why not. It'd be a stupid move. In fact, it's stupid to even say it. Why? Not because I believe all these crypto companies deserve to be licensed. They don't. In fact, the vast majority of them shouldn't be licensed at all. However, that's the regulator's fault for licensing them in the first place. There has to be an amount of time, 6 months, a year, that these licensees are given to basically get up to date in terms of requirements. If they don't, then they lose the license. And a vast majority of crypto entities will lose their license, just like they already canceled roughly 1,000 licenses the last time they changed the requirements. Now this is this is an if that will never happen, but if CoinMetro were to lose the license, we would simply move our business underneath the license of another jurisdiction and continue to operate as normal. And that's the problem with this idea that even for companies that should lose their license, just taking the license away, that doesn't help eliminate money laundering. In fact, given the fact that they would no longer be licensed and there'd be no supervision, it would probably make money laundering worse. But again, that's coming from me. I'm a 40-something-year-old dude who has 20-something years experience doing all this nonsense, in comparison to someone much younger who has little to no experience at the level that he's currently been given. So I'd love to talk to this gentleman, and I think at some point I probably will. But I'm not worried. We will meet all the new requirements. This is basically the Estonian FIU trying to get in front of FATF. But FATF can see right through this. What FATF would see from a statement like that is simply inexperience, pomposity. What would that? I don't know how you say pomposity. Anyway, one of those adjectives. None of them are probably words, but they can see right through that stuff. My big concern has nothing to do with CoinMetro. It has to do with FATF and what's going to happen when they come and do that audit. If Estonian goes on the gray list, and we still have the license, we will have to probably move our business to another license in another European jurisdiction anyway. Why? Because it's going to be extremely difficult to find banking providers that will maintain our accounts if we're domiciled in a country that's on the FATF gray list. But obviously, that's not just our concern. That would be the concern for every bank, every financial intermediary, and every licensed financial intermediary sitting in Estonia right now. So the likelihood of that happening is slim to none, I believe. But trying to blame crypto for the systemic problems of the Estonian regulator and banking system is childish, I think, and just wrong for the most part. All right, moving on. That was a big answer. It was a big answer to an awesome question. Hey, Kevin, quick question. When do we get Flux Airdrop? So it happens today. I can't tell you a date off the top of my head. Normally, these type of things we usually like wrap up on weekends, though I don't think it's scheduled for this weekend. So there might be again a slight delay. There won't be a delay like we saw the first time, because the first time we actually had to create the system by which to distribute the airdrops. That's done. So it's just about scheduling them. So I would say tag me, tag Oliver in Telegram. We'll get an answer for that shortly. How is support KYC hiring doing, and when do you expect to be back to max 1 hour? Hiring's going well. We just onboarded. We'll be onboarding by the end of this month, or early November, I guess, another 5 or 6 people. 5 people, I think, in Mexico, another 3 or 4 here locally in Estonia. I believe even some remote, and we're still hiring. So it's going well. I believe the thing is that's a hard question to answer, because obviously we're hiring like this. And as we start to do more marketing, new clients goes like this. So it may take a while to get back to that 1 hour. But as long as we can maintain where we currently are, which isn't the best place, but it's definitely better than most. But the goal absolutely is to get back to that hour. I would say probably Q1, Q2 would be a good time. If we can continue a hiring pace of about 5 to 10 people per month in those departments, we should be able to get there. Plus, with the continuation of automation, automating more things, automating onboarding, automating transaction monitoring, et cetera, to a higher extent than we currently have, that'll help reduce the need to have so many people in those positions. Definitely in KC. Yeah. All right, Cody. I don't know. I must have been a response to something I said, but I don't know. I'm confused. Will it be possible to register on CoinMetro with INE? That's the Mexican voters registration card for Mexican nationals. Many friends couldn't register on CoinMetro because they don't have passport nor driver's license. Hey, Eduardo. Yes, I do believe it will be. So there's been changes to the Estonian AML, let's say, laws, and there's upcoming changes as well. Now, there are changes that happened last year to define the documents that could be accepted by a foreign national to open an account with a regulated service provider, and that was travel document or driver's license. Now, there was some ambiguity, and I fought about this internally a few times about what a travel document meant. Because when you look at the documents that were requested or could be requested from European or Estonian nationals, it specifically said passport, not travel document. Now, as you know, with your INE, with your voter's card in Mexico, you can travel within Mexico, right? That is a travel document within Mexico. You can't travel outside of Mexico with that document, but you absolutely can travel within Mexico. So where does the travel document line end? That was my question. I do believe in the coming months, we will amend our own accepted document list, and it will include official documents in countries that are used as travel documents within those countries or within a region. For instance, the US also has documents such as state IDs, which we weren't accepting, which I believe we will when we make this change. You also have documents also in the US like a passport card, which is only good for crossing land borders, US, Mexico, or I believe on cruise ships to places like Bermuda, Bahamas, etc. And that also is obviously a travel document. You can travel with it. It's limited, but you can still travel with it. So those changes will come. I can't give you an exact date on when those changes will come, but there has been already discussions internally about them. I would shoot for probably the end of the year for that hopefully coming into force, that new document list. 2021 was the year of XCM. We're sitting at much higher prices than 2020, which is great. What do you expect for the last quarter of this year, and what will 2020 be the year of? I think I already said, well, so 2021 year of XCM. Yeah, I think every year, I mean, every day is XCM day around here. I mean, and Fridays especially. I mean, and weekends, forget it, because obviously I tell you every weekend that you got to talk to your friends and family and tell them to buy XCM, which means every weekend is an XCM weekend. But so last quarter, look, normally, I think historically, at least from a Bitcoin perspective, it's like 114% increase on average every year in Q4. That would put us to that inevitable 100,000 Bitcoin that everybody's been talking about since 2009. So that if we see a repeat of that average increase in Q4, well, actually be right under, I guess, because in the beginning, right into the beginning of Q4, October 1st, I don't think we were at 50K. We might have been. I gotta, maybe we were. I don't know. But anyway, it'll put us closer right over. So I do expect there's going to be a fury of, I think, probably bullish sentiment going into the end of the year. There usually is. I think there's only been 1 year, and I think that was 2014 to 15, if I'm not mistaken, where there was no bullish push into the end of Q4. But historically, we always see it. So I would expect to see it. Does that necessarily translate into a bullish Q4 for XCM? Not necessarily, but with a lot of things that are coming up, including finally us launching this XCM page, which has been on the back burner, side burner, left burner. The burner was off. It was on, I don't know, for like 15 years now or something. But with us pushing that bad boy out, along with having additional support back again from our investors into the book, along with renewed tokenomics that will be coming out Q4 and into Q1 next year, along with a lot of other things, and especially, well, marketing. Remember when marketing? Remember that one, guys? Well, when is now? So marketing is happening. It's starting to happen. It's already started to happen. I can't say we've never done marketing, but plus Cody's here, so I can't say that. He'd get pissed off. But we have done marketing. But the point is that now we have a much wider berth of how we're going to be doing marketing, along with agencies that are helping us, along with consultants, along with internal growth and marketing teams. So I do think we're going to see some bullish tendencies towards the end of the year in XCM. If you look at the sell side of the book, comparatively speaking to where it was the last time we made an all-time high, it's about 8 times less sell pressure. And that has a lot to do with our staking program. And it also has a lot to do with the fact that people have simply decided that they're going to hold on to their XCM, which is great. And I expect to see that pattern move even more in the right direction. And thus, it doesn't take much to get us back to that all-time high. And it doesn't even take as much to go 3-4 times that all-time high, comparatively speaking, to what it would have taken to do so in the last run. 2022, regulation, I mentioned, I think 2021, I had also mentioned was like the year of regulation. We've started to see that happening. Now we're starting to see pressure on places like Binance, et cetera. You're starting to see institutions like that. I call them an institution, which is really fucking stupid. But places or businesses, even calling it a business is kind of weird. But, exchanges like that are starting to now see pressure, and they're starting to do things they said they would never do. Shutting down access to countries. They assume they probably never would have to. And so 2022, I think into 2023, we're going to see major regulatory shifts. We've started to see the beginning. We're nowhere near the end. I believe every year from now into the next 5 years or so is going to see tremendous change, both in product, and I don't mean CoinMetro by itself, I mean the industry, product, UX, and obviously kind of, I would say, not adoption, but adaption is not a word, but the way that we start to adapt the types of products, and this is industry wide, and the type of offerings to fit different use cases that crypto hasn't been able to attack previously because it was less adopted. So that's what I expect for 2022. We'll see if I'm right. Liquidity is definitely needed. Getting a decent position in Flux or THT is hard. Getting out a decent position is possible. Yep, limit orders are your friends for sure. I agree with you, except on some of those things, liquidity doesn't exist. The problem is a lot of these tokens that we list end up getting listed on KuCoin. And then KuCoin shows, 5 million a day in volume on those tokens, but it's all bullshit. And I would love to say it's like 80% bullshit, but it's not. It's like 100% bullshit. Try to place an order on KuCoin and watch how crazy the book reacts. It's complete nonsense. And so there's this idea that liquidity exists and it's out there and somehow we just don't have it. The reality is, though, that it doesn't exist. It just doesn't. And so on many assets, it's just impossible to source more liquidity, at least more legitimate liquidity. And we will continue to talk. Actually, I have calls next week with more liquidity providers. We will continue to try and add liquidity to those books. We are also talking about adding in some different mechanisms to stop people from being able to take advantage of the thin books by placing, orders way outside of a certain range that then people get caught in because they don't realize the mechanics of order books, and they say, "Oh, I'm going to sell my, 10,000 or 100,000 THT at this price. It's a good price," and then they only sell 10,000 at that price, and the rest they sell, 10 times lower because they don't realize the mechanics of an order book. So part of that is us. We need to educate a bit more. So that's on us as well. That's on the entire industry, to be honest, but it is on us to educate more. The other side of that is to always be looking for additional liquidity, which we are doing. Hey, Super Success. Yep, this is actually my corner office. That sounds really bad. This is my office that's in a corner of our actual office. You can see one of the doors over here. What is it? There. But there's another door right in front of me. And so I'm kind of just stuck in the corner here. Hey, Brian. Nice to see you, buddy. It's been a while since I've seen you. Well, you were here. You've been here. Where can we get CoinMetro merch? That's coinmetro.store, Eduardo. This one isn't there yet. These hopefully will be there in a couple of weeks. I'm just testing them out to see how they look. But yeah, coinmetro.store, you can pick up some merch. Any update on opening up KDA staking again? Not yet. No update from KDA. They said end of the year was more unlikely when they were going to launch those bridges. So we're not there yet. How is IQ integration coming? It's not. There is no process ongoing at this point. I really don't want to bother with MetaMask and all that, but every day my PRQ is on CM, it's essentially devaluating. That's like one of the words I just came up with. That's not a word. Yeah, so I get it. Look, I have high 6 digits of PRQ sitting on CoinMetro, and I don't move them off either. And I would love to have IQ protocol integrated yesterday. Parsec has been busy. We haven't yet discussed, renewed the discussion about getting IQ protocol connected to CoinMetro. One is about the ability for them to schedule what they need to do to help us get that done. And the other thing is we need a pocket in our schedule to be able to get it done. Fortunately, haven't been able to kind of meet somewhere in the middle yet, but it is something that I want to do. It is something that we want to do as a company, but I can't really give you an update on it today. What are you up to this weekend? Good question. I have no idea, actually. I think I may be out this evening with some people from the office. It's Friday. Why not? This weekend, though, I don't know yet, actually. The weather outside is frightful. That's a song, isn't it? The weather outside is frightful. I'm not going to sing. Anyway, so the weather outside is frightful, but maybe tomorrow will be better and, not sunny, but just not rainy and cold. So I don't know yet. I honestly don't know what I'm doing this weekend. Any lights on what is happening behind the scenes? I got a light right there's you don't see the lights right behind me, gents? I mean, you can clearly see what's going on behind the scenes. So you got to get a bit more exact on that question for me to be able to answer. We have things going on behind the scenes about licensing in 1, 2, 3, 4 countries. We have things going on behind the scenes about automation and bettering our ability to speed up onboardings. We have things going on behind the scenes about our ability to speed up withdrawal and deposit and transaction monitoring. We have things going behind the scenes to reduce fees on withdrawals. Yay! We have things going on behind the scenes about new designs coming out for exchange, margin, tram, etc. We have things going on behind the scenes about a completely new rebrand in terms of CoinMetro's entire brand image. We have things going on behind the scene about a new slogan, new tagline, potentially even a new logo at some point. We have things going on behind the scenes about marketing. Lots of things going on behind the scenes about marketing with that new agency, getting those blue tags, medals, medallions, whatever they're called, and all these different social media networks, and starting to do major testing, A/B testing, so that we can ramp up big time early next year. We have things going on behind the scenes about hiring in every department that currently exists in the company. We have things going on behind the scenes about putting together an investment round next year to raise 25 to 50 million euro on a much, much, much higher valuation than we currently are sitting on from the last round. There's lots of things going on behind the scenes, but if you want some additional information, you can ask. Hey, Kev, when is Parsec's IQ protocol coming to CM? So yeah, just to answer that one, no real news on that yet. If CM had some excess revenue, would you try to build up more XCM that is necessary for just fees and rebates to put it out in circulation, similar to what VXV was doing? Easy answer to that is yes. But there's a fine line between if we had excess revenue. Well, one, revenue is not profit, right? So having excess revenue doesn't mean you have extra money. It just means you're burning less money. But having more money, well, do we want to bring in more clients with that money? Do we want to be able to better our services with that money so more clients can come in through the door, which inevitably leads to more of them buying XCM, which inevitably leads to higher all-time, new highs, etc. So the answer is yes, but it wouldn't necessarily be top priority for us yet. Do we have any updates on the MTF license? So it is an investment firm license. MTF is a permission in that license, which we will not be going after initially, because after much investigation and questioning, we see that that will actually hinder our ability to offer some of the services we want to offer. We can do everything we want to do, crypto options, crypto futures, and derivatives on our own securities offered through Ignium without the MTF permission and with other permissions that fall under an investment firm. We are currently on track to file by the end of January. And that's where we've been on track now for the past few months, actually. So no changes there. How does crypto Twitter sentiment work? By the way, my brother Ricardo just got into crypto and today is his birthday. Well, feliz cumpleaños, Ricardo. I hope that wasn't racist for me thinking you speak Spanish, but your name is Ricardo. So come on, man. If you don't, pick up a book, use Babbel, or was it Duolingo? I don't know. Duolingo. Back in my day, it was Rosetta Stone. I didn't learn shit when I tried Rosetta Stone, but crypto sentiment. So how does it work? Well, basically, there's some proprietary algorithm that goes on Twitter and finds every time a cash tag, that's the $, BTC, $BNB, why did I say BNB? $XCM, I'll say it again. Every time it sees that, it tries to figure out the sentiment of the tweet, if it's positive or negative. And using their algorithm, they compile all that, and it lets you know if people are talking positively about an asset or negatively about an asset, to give you an idea of what the global sentiment is, meaning are people bullish or are they bearish? And yeah, happy birthday, Ricardo, if you don't speak Spanish, which you should. Do you guys plan on adding a debit card to spend our crypto? Yes, we do. It's been on the plans for a long, long time. I got to be honest, personally speaking, fuck debit cards. Because, debit cards, credit cards came out in the 50s. The original ATM cards before they were debit cards came out roughly around the same time, a little bit later. And then, debit cards, I remember getting my first debit card back probably mid 90s or something. Old tech, that sucks for the most part. I mean, it works, but it sucks. I think, what I'd love to see is just NFC payments right from the app, or just being able to add this, virtual information to your Apple Pay or Google Pay, and you go ahead and use that. But yes, we will have a debit card. We've been waiting because, it's very important. There was a question earlier about this crypto AML Estonia dude saying he's going to cancel a license thing. And it's very important because of things like that. And just the fact that we are in a high risk industry, one that is yet to be fully regulated, where we're always going to be a scapegoat until we are very, very highly regulated as an industry. Crypto will be the scapegoat for everything. Like your neighbor falls down and breaks her leg, it's crypto's fault. The dude next door has a leak in his roof and his TV goes on the fritz, that's Bitcoin's fault, et cetera, et cetera. That is how many countries view crypto and have viewed crypto, and they will continue to do that because it's an easy scapegoat, because they can simply say, look, there's not enough oversight, which is their fault, by the way. If there's not enough oversight in an industry, it is the regulator and legislation's fault that they didn't build in the legislation and they didn't build in the regulation. It has nothing to do with the industry. If you let people do what they want, they're going to do what they want. If you apply a law, then you have the ability to enforce that law. So anyway, point is that we're going to be the scapegoat for some time. And being a scapegoat means you need to do things the right way. You need to build very strong relationships. If we have providers like we have, our banks and our EMIs and credit card merchant accounts and all these things we do business with, and we don't build strong relationships, we can lose those relationships overnight. And we don't want that to happen, which means when we build a relationship, we want to make sure that we kind of foster and mature that relationship. So being as we have great relationships with some of our providers, we want to use those same providers for cards. Yeah, we could go to the Solaris Banks of the world, or the Qantas, which is now owned by Solaris Bank, or any of the other debit card providers that currently service the industry. Problem is that we'll be going through multiple third parties in many of those instances, or paying too much, or basically losing our ability to make a flexible product that we can actually adapt how we want to adapt it. And that's why we've waited. So you can think of us in that aspect like the Apple versus Microsoft. We went the Apple route there. Yep, Microsoft comes out with shit really fast. Usually it's buggy, doesn't really work as well as it should, that they just want to get out to market first. Apple famously doesn't really care about going out to market first, and they make really small changes, but they created a community that even if they change literally one thing that no one can see, people will shell out money for their product every time they make one. Why? Because they're an amazing brand, and Microsoft is not. It's a shitty brand. It's just a brand that has a big market share, but they're shitty. They don't have a real cohesive brand method. We do. And so you can think of us in that way, kind of like Apple versus Microsoft. But yeah, debit cards will be here. We will have them. And we've been working on it for quite some time. We need Murcko video. What's Bitcoin? What's blockchain? That would be best to enjoy. We do have those. It's called Kevin Explains Crypto. And it's me, Kevin, explaining crypto. If that wasn't really, really easy to understand already. So we did do that. We probably will do more of that. The production value on those videos wasn't all that great, I got to be honest. Not because of me. I looked amazing, like always. But the production value was kind of nonsense. So we probably will get back into that, but with a bit more production value. But we definitely have. Actually, the video that got the most hits was what is a nonce? And unbeknownst to me, in the UK, that means something completely different. And it gets a lot of hits, which is kind of disturbing. So moving on. Hey, Kev, I think I remember you mentioning Credo before. What do you think about their product? And is it something you potentially consider? I like Credo. I like what they want. I like what they're trying to do. I like what they've done. I talked to the team quite early on before they had really many clients. We just didn't have the bandwidth to be able to work with them at that time. I think we will work with them in the future. We're going to be starting to work with Fireblocks in the coming months. And probably after we get on board with Fireblocks completely, I think we will start to work with Credo for some very specific product offerings. But I do like the team. I like what they're doing. What are the outcomes from calculating on slightly higher staking, and how are the two conditions going to make it unlimited? What are the outcomes from? So outcomes, I don't have the outcomes yet. I'm going to work on that over the weekend. So I should have something over the weekend. So can't really give you anything on that right now. The two conditions, not much change since last week. That's something that we're going to have to monitor, but not much change since last week on the two conditions that need to be met. But to calculations, ping me on Sunday, and I should have something for you. Great news about tokenomics and website XCM. Thanks, Gustavo. Appreciate it. Now, I did come in late today. We're almost up. We're almost up with our hour, but I was about 25 minutes late. So I'm going to try to put in an additional 5 to 10 minutes here. But I do have a meeting coming up, so I'm going to have to try to breeze through some of these questions. Let's see. I really this was a bullshit post. Sorry for putting that up there. Hi, Kevin. Thanks for everything so far. In the past, you have said that one CM regret was not converting your crypto holdings into fiat. 2021, 2020 seems to be following a similar pattern to 2017. As someone who will be holding XCM 2020 at least until the funding round, do you have any reassurance that value versus fiat will not be plummeting as it did in 2018, other than this time it's different? Hold on, I think we got one more. Thanks for the insight and best wishes. Hey, we can't. I hate people that say this time it's different and just say this time it's different, because it's always different. It's never the same. But I'll explain to you why I don't think we are ever going to see a repeat of exactly what we saw in 2017. Reasons are this, and they're pretty straightforward reasons. And I think when you hear them, if you kind of listen, you'll probably agree. I think most people would agree. So 2017, vastly majority retail market. Mom, dad, Uncle Joe, and Grandma Ginny's money was flowing into crypto. And they were buying Bitcoin and Ether and converting Bitcoin to Ether to buy into ICOs, because somebody told them it was going to do 1,000,000x and they were going to be able to take $100 and, buy the mansion next door, a Bentley, and a really nice watch. And so that's what they did. And that caused the market to spike. It also caused ICOs not to liquidate. Why? Because it kept going up. Why would you liquidate 1 million if the week after it was 2 million and the week after that was 2.8? People were just hanging on, expecting it never to end. Well, it ended. It ended with massive amounts of capitulation, massive amounts of fear-based selling. First, the top was created because people said, well, that's enough for me, and started to sell. ICOs then looked at that and said, oh, shit, we just lost 20% in one day. We're selling now too. And then slowly, fast, not really slow, but basically fastly and surely, the market tanked. And when that happens in such a quick fashion, retail loses interest. They lose faith. And they say, this is not going to go to zero. I'm an idiot. Like every time, all I do is lose money. This is a scam. It's a pyramid, blah, 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 blah. And then it takes time to recover because you need to get the next round of retail money into the market. Now we have a market that's substantially different. One, you have a substantially larger market cap. Two, you still have retail money probably as the majority, but you have a large minority of that money that is no longer retail. It is institutional. It is aggregated institutional. We don't have pension funds yet or anything like that, but we do have hedge funds. We do have high net worth individuals. We do have companies putting it on their balance sheet. Everybody's seen that crazy asshole from MicroStrategy on Twitter and YouTube. So, this has fundamentally changed the way the market works. It has fundamentally changed the volatility of the market. If you notice, go back and look at, day-to-day, month-to-month candles in 2017 and 18, and look at daily month-to-month candles now, especially with majors. Volatility has lessened, probably by 30 or 40%, maybe even more. Previously, when you saw a correction in Bitcoin, it was 83% on average. The last correction we had was about 60%. I envision that every correction we have going forward is going to get less and less and less as we get more and more institutional money into the market. What that means is that in 10 years from now, 5 years from now, 3 years from now, 20 years from now, whatever the date may be, you're going to see a bear market in crypto at a 20% downturn like you do in stocks. It's not going to be an 80% downturn. It's also going to mean that there'll be less retail money because retail people want 1,000x. But what that will do is create a much more vibrant and volatile altcoin market. Now, regulation may hinder that market or may change it substantially to what it is now. But the altcoin market will remain volatile and probably get less volatile, only to get more volatile once the majors start to subside in their own volatility. So I would say, look, if you're worried, if you invested into something and you're fundamentally worried that it may lose value, then you shouldn't have invested in the first place. I know that's kind of, and you hold XCM, it's probably counterproductive for me to say, but just with my investor hat on, you need, especially in something like this that's very volatile, you need to be able to kind of go through the ups and downs. Remember that there's a floor at 12 cents. So your downside volatility, at least on XCM, is limited. That doesn't mean you couldn't take a loss, but it does mean that it's limited. And over time, XCM really doesn't have far to go below, but it's got a lot of ways to go above. So there's lots of upward potential in XCM. But what I would say is the market is fundamentally different. It is not the same market. That doesn't mean we won't see selling into the new year. That's normal. If we see a bull run, which I expect we will see, into the end of this year, you are going to see people selling in January, February next year. Why? Because people need to take profits. Taking profits is not a bad thing. You shouldn't, stab yourself in the eye because you want to take profit on a trade. And just because that trade may go higher or whatever afterwards, it should be meaningless. Once you get to the point where that's meaningless to you, you can call yourself a trader. You can tattoo that on your forehead if you want. But until you're able to sit back and be okay with taking profit, you're going to have a tough time actually making money in any market. So that's a long answer, but it was like a 7-part question. So it should be okay, I think. Tell me about that sign-up chart since May. Hey, Cody. Yeah, that sign-up chart is on a nice little upward trajectory. Not yet exponential, but I can tell you we've been doing some modeling until 2025 because we'd like to see where the company's headed, not just tomorrow or next week or even in 1 month, but with what I would call not necessarily conservative, but absolutely not aggressive numbers. It is going to go exponential. Remember that, and Cody, you know this very well because, well, you're sitting behind our marketing department. We haven't spent that much money on marketing. I think the most we ever spent in a month is about 100,000 euros. When we 10x that amount, and we do so through multiple verified channels, that chart will go extremely exponential. I mean, extremely exponential. In fact, I believe the volume chart will go even more exponential. As we add in additional assets and additional liquidity, we will actually see more volume per client. So expect a lot of exponential movements over the next 6 to 12 months, I think. How's the 17 things to do list going? Well, it's probably up to 23 things now, but at least a few of them got knocked off for sure. Way too early for Xmas songs. Yeah, sorry about this. Not even Halloween yet. I do apologize to anyone who was offended. If I knew any Kwanzaa or Hanukkah songs, I'd throw them. I know one Hanukkah song, Dreidel, 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 I made you out of clay. I don't know why I know that. I think I sang it in 6th grade at the I'm Not Jewish concert. I don't know. Thought you had a good voice. Well, that's probably because I didn't sing the whole thing. How much are you involved in Ignium? Initially, I was very involved in Ignium, 50-50, I think, for the most part. However, my CoinMetro duties just ballooned. And unfortunately, I thought I was going to be able to separate myself a little bit from CoinMetro to provide more time at Ignium, but I just haven't been able to do that. So now I would say I'm on an advisory level, Bill, at this point. So when there's questions that I can help answer, I'm there to help answer them. When we can collaborate on something, I'm there to collaborate on it. But outside of that, right now, at least, that's kind of the limitation of my involvement. Most importantly, this quarter, you need to fill that meme wall. I want to see it completely covered. Well, I need some fucking memes, guys. Come on. Well, a lot of people actually, yeah, if somebody can send me a nice folder with like 20 or 30 memes in it, I will fill that wall up. It'll be amazing. Absolutely amazing. Love the background. This actually isn't a background. This is legitimate. It's legitimate. I'm not like in my mom's basement, or in like my living room with like my 15 cats roaming around behind me on the sofa or something. It's my actual office. Look, I can even see, because if I rotate the camera, you see, maybe you can do this with the background too. I don't know. I'm not that good at backgrounds, so I don't really know, but legit, I mate. Anyway, can you give us a tour of the office space? I could, but I'm not going to. Sorry. We can try to do that next week. I can try to do it, but I have a stationary camera here. It's going to be a bit weird. Old question. As you're fully regulated, are the user holdings in CoinMetro wallets somehow protected in case of a momentary withdrawal blockage? Well, it's a kind of a difficult question. So there is no government yet. There is no government regulated insurance for crypto. That's going to happen once we're more regulated. Things like the FDIC in the US or Omnibus Bud Service in the UK, et cetera, will exist for crypto. They don't yet. There are some insurance policies that some are better than others. With Fireblocks, as we move over that way, their insurance policy is actually pretty decent. And we will be probably adding additional insurance as well once we move over through that system. Our cold wallets, though, are cold wallets, so they're not connected to any API. They're not live, they're not connected directly to any of our systems. If there's a withdrawal blockage like from a regulator, well, I guess the assurance there is that those wallets will be taken offline, and thus pretty much impossible for somebody to gain access to them. So their security really wouldn't be an issue. It'd be more about when they would be unlocked, I guess. And that's why we like to stick to regulatory guidelines and laws, and we don't like to go outside of them. And that's why sometimes it can take some time to get your withdrawal, or it can take some time to be onboarded, or it can take some time for certain things, because we need to make sure we cross all our I's and dot all our T's. Cross all our I's and dot all our T's. Grammar is horrendous today. All right, I'm going to take 2 or 3 more questions, and then I have to part ways. Hi, Kevin. Any updates on the CV Reflect Tram? I'm seeing losses recently. Also, when will we have the ability to withdraw any amount without fees? Well, it's not a fee when you withdraw. What happens when you withdraw, if there's open exposure, I'm going to try to use my hands and see if this makes it any more. Okay, so let's say this is your account, and off of your account, this is going to get weird. This are the open trades that are linked to your account, right? And let's say each one of my fingers is like, I don't know, 1/5 of your deposit. So, and each one of these is that 1/5 of your deposit in an open trade that's negative. So these trades are underwater, right? They're negative 1,000 euro. And you go to take out 1/5. Can I even do this? That's 2/5. Or whatever. You're taking out 2/5, right, as a withdrawal. These 2/5 over here that's negative exposure are going to get closed. So this trade gets closed. When that happens, you take the loss on that open trade. That's what happens. It's not a fee. It's because you're closing open exposure. Why do we do that? Well, it becomes much more risky if you have this much open exposure and you just withdrew this much of your money. So that would leave you with 1/5 of your money against 5/5 of open exposure. And that would probably lead to a stop out, which would cause you to lose even more money. And that's why it goes in parallel. You withdraw, the same percentage is closed as far as open exposure goes. So as far as the CV Reflect Tram, I don't really have so much information on that, because we don't run that tram. It is a client of ours. That's Collective Ventures. The best thing would be to reach out to them. However, you can tag @PizzaMind, I believe is his name, in Telegram. He's inside of our group, to ask him. I know that they are waiting on Ether to hit its all-time high so they can release some more liquidity into the tram so they can actually trade it rather than trade out of open positions. That much I know up to this point. I don't want Google Apple Pay to know my purchase information, so I'd rather have an old school debit card that I can use anywhere. My financial systems are only in. Well, they know what you're purchasing anyway on that old school debit card. Trust me, makes no difference. Can see him, but we'll have that anyway, so that's fine. But don't think for a second that those transactions aren't just as digital as the ones that happen through Google or Apple Pay. Can CM have multiple currency accounts so other countries could advertise their biz and after that transfer their shares Ignium? Wow, I'm kind of don't know what you're asking me here. Let's see. Can we have multiple currency accounts so other countries could advertise their biz and after that transfer their shares Ignium? Sorry, man. If you're asking if someone can have well, we already allow multiple currencies in one CoinMetro account. You can have US dollars, you can have euros, you can have pounds, you can have Australian dollars. And that list will probably grow at some point, though there's not much demand to do that yet. We have most of the majors in the world that people operate under. Canadian dollar is one we are working on, by the way. But this question about Ignium and the shares, I don't really understand the question. Thanks, Kevin. That's fine. Ricardo is Mexican. Mexicano. Qué bueno. Feliz cumpleaños de nuevo, Ricardo. Por ser mexicano. Hi, Dad. All right. I don't know as your father, but, thanks for letting me know in public on a Friday. Hello, Mr. CEO. Hi, Mr. Jack. Great, amazing fiat on-ramp this week. So amazingly fast on and off ramp. Well done. Thanks, Jack. Really do appreciate it. Glad we can help you in your crypto needs. Thank weak hands. I appreciate that. Or weak hand. I guess you got one weak hand and one strong hand. So make sure you're holding your Ledger wallet or whatever with that strong hand. Don't worry. Just getting a hopium injection. Don't worry. I'm heavily but not over invested. Awesome. Heavily invested. Love to hear it. Nice explanation about the charts and correlation with new marketing efforts. Thank you, Gustavo. What is your opinion about the future of KDA? I like KDA. I own some of it. I probably will own more in the future. I like the team. They still have some things they need to work on, like every protocol, like every company. They're starting to get more and more recognized. I would expect to see them on major exchanges probably in the next 6 to 12 months. I do expect double digits from them in 2022. Team with amazing plans. What I'm seeing now is amazing. Jesus, another fake post. I was all excited because they said we had amazing plans. Saying, Jesus, thanks, man. And then, scam artists. Fucking amazing. Do you think we are in return to normal or just escaped bear trap? I don't know what normal is. I think generally speaking, I haven't seen a bear trap, to be honest. I've seen a range. The range is always pretty big in crypto, right? So Bitcoin, for example, if you see, 60K to 40K, that's a range in crypto. That's not a bear trap. That's a range. Great. Jesus, another asshole. Thanks for such an honest and accurate answer. Thank you, Gustavo. We got all these fake posts. Hey, Kev, looking good. Thanks. Appreciate that. I'm sure you look good as well. I don't know. Jesus. Smash the likes. Smash the likes. Thanks, Jack. Appreciate that. Like MD Agency. Are you saying you like MD Agency? Or is this a continuation of that last question about Ignium shares? You mean being able to buy shares through Ignium via the CoinMetro platform in multiple currencies? You can already do that. I mean, you might have to exchange first, but you can already do that, really. Double digits for XCM2, not just KDA for 2022. Well, definitely possible. Look, it doesn't take much to get to single digits, 1-2 euros right now. It's like €1 million to €2 million on the sell side. That's it. And to get to 10 euros, it's like under 3 million. It's like 2.5, 2.2 or something. So it's definitely possible. It won't take that much to do it. You can look at other projects that started staking programs and then just went a little viral and see how fast price discovery happens to the upside. So it's definitely possible. I don't like to make those type of predictions for my own asset, even though that doesn't mean I don't believe it. But what I will say is that XCM is strong and is only going to get stronger. But anyway, okay, guys, it is 15 minutes past 4. We did about 52 minutes. It's not bad for a Friday. I was 25 minutes late, so I do apologize for that. Hope everybody has a great weekend. As I always say, spend time with friends and family. If you don't have any friends or family, I don't know, go inside like some virtual game and make some virtual friends and family. I don't know. It sounds pretty depressing. Make sure you got like a bottle of Jack Daniels or something by your side while you're doing that, and close all your windows. But while you're in that virtual game, trying to make virtual friends, don't get too drunk before you make some type of virtual banner that says buy XCM. Make sure everybody sees that. Because if they don't, you've completely failed for your weekend tasks. And I don't want to talk to you again next week here on my MA. Anyway, just decide, have a great weekend, everybody. Spend time with friends and family. De-stress. Don't look at prices. Actually, this weekend, maybe you should look at prices. Crypto's looking pretty good. I mean, we might see a little bit of a reversal this weekend, but even so, prices are looking pretty nice across the board. Thanks for coming. Thanks for the questions. You can always tag me if you have additional questions on Telegram at Kevin Murcko. You can tweet me at Kevin Murcko. I'm here to help if I can. And see you guys here next week. Thanks for everything. Onwards and upwards. Awesome. Cheers.